I am using this Wera brand. A friend of mine let me borrow this. Check it out. It's a German brand. It's a nice wrench. They were at Sea Otter Classic if you were out there. But 15 millimeter is the common size for a lot of these bolted axles. BMX, cruiser, hybrid, usually on the lower end bikes as far as recreational. And then let all your air out. If there could be a little bit remaining, that could be a problem. And then I'm pressing the tire sidewall away from the rim. Sometimes they're a little stuck, so I'm pulling, getting both sides done at the same time. The looser the tire is, the easier it is going to be to put these tire levers into place. I'm putting one, skipping a spoke, putting a second one, and I'm going to flip both at the same time. Push down and through, grab the other side and pull. That's my tip right there. We're doing that pull through, and then start sliding. If you get stuck again, just do the push and then pull through on the bottom. That's super key. And then just tear this tube out like there's no tomorrow. Tire is very tough, much tougher than your tire or your fingers. And then this tire was pretty cooperative. The whole tire just ripped right off. You can use a tire lever if you need to. And this is the pan eraser. We're going from the stock tire, which has a little bit of tread. It's more of a street-friendly tire. A little bit of tread, maybe if you hit some water, a little bit of hard pack. This one's going to be much more aggressive. You could spend way more time in the gravel. You can gravel race on it, gravel ride, cyclocross, you name it. I would feel very comfortable dropping the hammer on these tires. Of course, the bike might be another question. But I'm dividing the logo here in half. This is considered style points. Dividing half of the logo on one side of the valve hole and the other side. Does serve a purpose though. If you find your logo, you're going to find your valve very quickly. If you're in a hurry and you got to put air in there. Here I'm placing that tube in there first. Tuck it inside the tire and just start tucking all the way around, making sure the tube's not getting all twisted. This is a 700C tire, 700C tube. And then just start tucking. Here I like to use a lot of my palm. Use the meaty part of your palm. Along with maybe the other hand is coming in with a thumb. The thumb can be in the enforcer. You just don't want to do thumbs and fingers. Fingers and thumbs will get super tired, super fatigued really fast. But tucking the best I can with fingers. And this tire is going to keep popping off on me on the opposite side. So I will eventually have to keep my left hand locked in place as my right hand works and works and works till I get that a little bit tighter and tighter. Then I can release and work on that small section. And then I'm using the calloused areas, or you need to create calluses. But a lot of the palm is going to do a lot of the work here. And here I'm holding the left side of the knob so it's not moving, loosening the left side, give it a little tap down. Same thing, letting all the air out. If there's a ring, take the ring off, unscrew your Presta valve. Prestas are the skinny valve. Schrader is the wider, typically black in color with the rubber coating. Getting all that air out and then pushing on those sidewalls, breaking the bead free from the rim on both sides. So that tire sits much looser. And then I'm just going to use one tire lever here, push through all the way, grab through the bottom. See, I'm pulling on the bottom. That's ripping more bead off. That's utilizing the lever and getting more bead torn off, and then start sliding. If you get stuck again, do the push through, grab from the bottom, pull as hard as you can. You're not going to hurt a darn thing. Rims are tough, tires are tough. Just if you have to reuse your tube, make sure that tire lever doesn't pinch it. That's our pan eraser, 700 in diameter by 35. I jumped up from a 32. The original was a 32 mil wide, and jumping up to a 35. Figured that was safe. There would be enough room in the rear of the bike because the rear chain stays where the tire goes in between. Sometimes that gets very tight. Front fork is a little more forgiving. You can probably jump up 1 to 2, maybe even 3 sizes. A wider tire in the front, which wouldn't be bad. That's your steering. So the better steering you have, the better chance you have of staying upright. But here I divided that logo in half, getting half of that tire seated, leaving the other side open. So that's just, now I'm in the same spot I would be if I was just replacing a tube. And finding your valve hole, which is right in the middle of that white logo. Insert your valve. And then get it tucked in there and start working that tube all the way around. And if you can, you know, I didn't do it on this one, but the rotor is table side down. But right now it's just barely missing the table, so I'm not worried about bending the rotor. Which what you could do is just flip the wheel over and work on the other side, so then the rotor side's up, and there's less chance of you bending or touching that rotor, because we want to keep it totally free. You don't want to touch it with fingertips, don't want to touch it with the table, especially if your table's dirty. But here we're going to go tuck, 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 tuck. There's a point here where I'm going to use the plastic lever to gently tuck and push the tube in there because it gets tight. I can't get my fingers in there. But if you're just doing a gentle probing of the tube, coming up shortly, gentle, boom, boom, boom. This way when I go to get that last portion of bead in there, I'm not going to pinch the tube. I'm not going to land on top of the tube where the tube potentially could stick out. So I'm taking a peek right there, making sure that the tube didn't get caught underneath the bead, which could eventually expose itself as you put air in the system, in the tire. Then that tube could potentially want to, since it's halfway out and exit, it could kind of bulge and then blow up on you. And then here I'm giving that valve a push up. And here I'm making sure that the tube is not caught underneath the bead of the tire. If you can push that valve all the way up and you have that easy movement up and down, then I know the tube is free and there's no chance of that tube wanting to bulge out as we put air. Especially if you're using compressed air and it's coming out very quickly. You have like a second to react. If your tube wants to bulge out, it will blow up on you very quickly. If you're using a floor pump, then you want to monitor. But here I'm making sure the bead is locked in on both sides. Do a visual, drag your finger. If you're going quick through here and you have an opening where that tube can escape, as soon as you put that air in there, even if you're doing a floor pump, it may be bulging out the backside where you can't see, and you could blow up that tube. I've done it before. And then air pressure, always check your air pressure indication. I think for these they're up about 60 to probably maybe 70. So I'm probably going up close to 60 psi. You don't have to go at the hardest pressure, even if you think you're going to be on the hard road pavement. Doesn't mean you're going to go faster. It just means your tire is going to bounce a little more. And the more it bounces, the more time it spends the tires off the ground, which means you have no control when it's up in the air. But if you have it a little bit softer, it's going to conform to the road, make the ride feel a little more supple, and hopefully you should have more control, better feel. Close the tip of your Presta valve, tighten up your ring, and then this here is an adapter. So if you go into a gas station or something that doesn't have the proper Presta valve head, you can use your adapter. Here I give that valve a push. When it moves freely, it tells me that the tube is not caught, and I'm going to go ahead and put air. So if the tube was pinched and bulging out, you would probably see it right at the base of the logo and the base of the rim, the edge of the rim. But just doing my quick checks, do a full 360, left side, right side. And then the valve, pretty much with these, this one is sticking up straight, but if it was crooked to the point where you couldn't get your pump head on, then you want to let all your air out, straighten up your tube, you know, kind of drag the tire tube opposite of the rim to straighten up your valve. You always want that valve nice and straight. Potentially, I suppose you could cut it at the base, or pinch the rim or cut it at the base of the tube. But sometimes it's just hard to get a pump head on. Push that lower part of your cage down, create a nice big opening, get that gearing in between the chain. You created a nice big space. Land on the smallest gear, closest to possible, and then just work your way up, get that valve from that disc in there. And I may have tightened it by hand, but you notice this wrench, it's a little thin. It might dig into your hands if you got to use a lot of pressure. But I'm holding pressure with my right hand. Always keep that tire upward. Tighten a little bit on one side, a little bit on the other. Back and forth, back and forth. Right now it's not permanently tight. I just got it settled. And then I'm going to get my front wheel in there. Make sure your quick release lever is in the open position. If it's closed, it may not let the wheel in. And then here I'm just basically getting it roughly set. Make sure the tension feels okay. You can always make an adjustment on the ground. When I put wheels on in the repair stand, I never trust that my wheels are going to be straightly aligned in the frame. So I bring the bike down to the ground, keep the weight of the bike down, open your quick release or open the bolts on the back, let the weight of the bike come down onto the axle, give it a little wiggle jiggle, let that axle find the flatness of each dropout, like here. As soon as I open the other side, the wheel actually makes a small correction where it sits nice and even in there. Boom, it's right there. It's probably hard to see. A little vibration hit, help the axle find its home. Little wiggle jiggle left and right. Never lift up the frame, never lift up the bike, you will lose the wheel. And then just tighten a little bit at a time. Left side, right side, right side. And this is a vertical dropout, so tightening up is pretty straight away. If you had a horizontal, say you had a single speed or a fixie bike, you have to slide the wheel back to create tension on the chain. Well, that's what the derailleur does for you here in this system, so it kind of takes some of that hassle out of the picture. And then tighten up to nice and comfy, probably 35 newton meters if you're wondering. And there's just a little tire upgrade. Actually added a little personality to this bike. And it should come into focus. Yeah, doesn't look like much, but these it is still a skinnier tire. They can hook up pretty good, but you still want to ride with caution, especially going into turns. You always take a little extra caution going into turns, into loose gravel. And this is a tubeless system as well if you wanted to go tubeless. And it's a decent wrench, nice little, I like all the notches there that helps grab the bolt, less chance of slipping. And it's just thin, it's not very long, so if you need something longer for more leverage, you might want to look at something a little different. And it comes with a its own case, and has a nice little lip on it. Yeah, so wrenches will fit in there nicely, and it's got that little lip on there, keep them from sliding out. Has a little hole on one end, you can hang it as well. That rolls up into a tight roll, and with Velcro.